everyone. A very good day to you all. I hope you all have been well, taking care of yourselves, and are following precautions against the pandemic. We welcome you to a brand new episode on Workcation. Yes, workation, work and a vacation, workation. In this episode, Miss Anupama, our chief trainer at UCS, will be explaining to us about this now popular concept of working on a vacation that is trending amongst the young generation, and will also unveil the complications and explain to us where a boundary must be drawn when colleagues are at a vacation. Hi Anupama, nice to have you back. The previous series on POSH is good for employees and organizations, why and how, went on very well. You definitely busted all our myths. Last week, my sister and I were chatting over a cup of tea, and during the conversation, she told me that few of her colleagues had gone on a workation for 2 weeks to Shimla. I was completely unaware of such a concept. She told me that now with the pandemic, as people can work remotely from anywhere, people are traveling to different places and working from there instead of being stuck at home. In fact, she said that it has become a trend now. This pandemic has surely brought in a lot of innovation to the idea of work itself. About 3 groups of her friends have gone on vacations to different places in the last 7 months. However, my concern here is, what if something goes wrong during such a vacation? In most situations, colleagues who are very close friends, who are comfortable with each other, and colleagues who are couples go on such vacations. In these situations, it is certain that during the times that they are not working, they are having fun, partying, etc. With this background, as I said, workation is work plus a vacation. While working on a vacation, will it be considered a workplace under the definition of the POSH Act?
Thanks, Kaveri. And definitely, vocation is something that I have got to hear about recently, and I fully understand your reaction to it. Working during vacation and the place where they are working will also be considered as workplace. How do I fit this into the definition of workplace under the POSH Act? As per the POSH Act, and to put it in simple words, workplace is a place where you work, the place where you visit on work, and the place, or rather when you're traveling on work, that is also considered as workplace. Since the pandemic, work from home has become the norm, and all of us know it. Though at home, an employee is sitting in front of his or her system for a minimum of 8 hours a day. They are paid for it. Sometimes the system they're using and even the internet that they're using belong to the company. Hence, this squarely qualifies as a digital workplace. And in fact, this concept has been upheld by the Rajasthan High Court in Sanjeev Mishra versus Bank of Baroda as latest as in 2021.
I have another question for you, Anupama. When male and female colleagues are staying together on a vacation, considering that they are not in a relationship, during which a female colleague is sexually harassed by a male colleague, will it be considered as an act of sexual harassment at the workplace? And if yes, what recourse will such an aggrieved woman have? And does the IC actually have the obligation to take up such a complaint?
Wonderful question, Kaveri. We'll split that question. Does the IC have the obligation to receive the complaint? Of course, as an IC is bound to receive any complaint made with it by a female employee or an employee of a customer, vendor, or even a contractual employee. With respect to the first question as to whether harassment of a female colleague by a male colleague during vacation can be an act of sexual harassment at workplace, I would say it depends. If harassment happens during working hours, especially if you have fixed working hours, or in case of a flexible working hours, or even if the harassment is in a virtual form. Yes, it will be sexual harassment at workplace. However, let's say the harassment happens in a physical form outside of office hours when the colleagues may have been partying because they are on a vacation as well, then it may not fall within the purview of sexual harassment at workplace. If you notice, Kaveri, I used the word may because the concept of vocation is still evolving and a lot of questions remain unanswered. However, if a complaint is made to the IC will need to take it up and determine if this is sexual harassment at workplace or not. And in case it does not come within the purview of a sexual harassment at workplace, it can always assist the victim to file a police complaint.
Thanks, Anupama. This was very interesting to know. But let's take a situation where the male and female colleague are in a relationship. In such circumstances, is the matter handled differently?
Kaveri, by handling differently, if you mean a complaint cannot be made to the IC, no, there is no difference. As I said before, an IC, when it receives a complaint, has to carry out an inquiry. What would help the IC in its inquiry is if the company in its policy has made it mandatory for the employee to disclose relationship with colleagues. Another piece of advice. In such a policy, it's always better to make it very specific that the company does not permit relationships, even if it's consensual, between a boss and a subordinate. The reasons I will explain sometime later.
A workation is not a company-sponsored or organized work trip. Under these circumstances, does the company have any obligation to do something under the POSH Act?
Kaveri, if your question is whether the company has any obligation at present under a POSH Act with respect to workation, I would say no, because workation is a new concept that has taken its birth since the pandemic. However, for those organizations that have a permanent work from home policy, or even those we know may have to get into such instances if a pandemic happens in the near future, it is always a good idea to come up with an explanation and the stand that the company is going to take with respect to vocation and what the company defines as vocation with respect to the POSH Act. Hope this helps.
Thanks, Anupama. But then, where do you think one must draw a line while on such vocations? And what advice would you give employees who are on vocations?
Kaveri, for a person who belongs to a generation which is very different from this, personally I believe vocations itself is a bad idea, especially if many colleagues are sharing a single accommodation. However, if this is the way we are going to see the future, then we need to accept it. And the only advice that I would have to employees during vocation is respect your colleagues, enjoy a great friendship, and respect the no.
Thank you, Anupama. Ladies and gentlemen, I do hope you found this episode very informative and interesting. Do get in touch with us with your queries, suggestions, and feedback by emailing us at admin@upseedconsulting.com or writing to us on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. We will be back soon with another interesting topic. Wishing you all a great evening.